Where there was life, there was always hope, and I'm very hopeful. And I'm actually fairly confident, maybe too confident, that the Lord is calling men to join us. They just don't know it yet, and when they find out, please God, they would respond generously and come here.
I'm James Wiseman. I'm the abbot of St. Anselm's Abbey here in Washington, D.C., and I've been here since the very end of 1964, which is a long time.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brother Ignacio Gonzalez. I'm a Benedictine monk of St. Anselm's Abbey in Washington, D.C.
My name is Grace Gretz. I am a senior at the Catholic University of America studying education and theology, and I'm from Crofton, Maryland.
St. Anselm's Abbey actually got started in a very unusual way. Back in the early 1920s, there was a group of 5 men here in Washington. They were either diocesan priests or members of other religious congregations, all teaching either at Catholic U or at nearby Trinity College, and they knew each other and they all wanted to live together as Benedictine monks. So these 5 men took a ship across the Atlantic Ocean around 1922. They did their novitiate there for 1 year, and the abbot sent them back to Washington along with some of his Scottish monks to help them get started. And they started in 1924, and for about the first 6 years they were in an old farmhouse that was about a quarter mile from where we are now. And then during those first 6 years they raised enough money to build the current monastery and its church, and these buildings were dated from 1930. And from then on we've been right here at what's sometimes called the Hilltop.
Unique to our property here is that it is a monastery in a city, but we have 41 acres total, and 20 of it is not developed. So half the property is still a large wooded area. And it's a nice place where there are paths to walk through the woods and to really encounter God in nature, in the middle of the city.
So this past summer, I had the incredible privilege of working and living at St. Meinrad Arch Abbey in St. Meinrad, Indiana. And it was such an incredible experience. We lived there for 6 weeks, and we really immersed ourselves in the Benedictine lifestyle, from praying Liturgy of the Hours, just the pace of life, of work and pray. I think that I would describe the Benedictine rule, if I could pick a couple words to describe it, it would be definitely hospitable, humble, and modest. I was in charge of the group that was learning all about hospitality and stewardship. And the first thing that we taught them as they started to participate in the Mass was that every single person that walks through the door, whether that be in a church, through a liturgy, or just through their front door, is to be welcomed as Christ.
We are most known probably for our prayer. Lectio Divina is our devotion. Liturgy of the Hours.
Praise the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit, both now and forever. Amen.
And also hospitality. In the Rule of St. Benedict, it says that all guests are to be received as Christ. So any guest we see is Jesus coming to visit us. And so I love that we were able to provide a place of respite, peace, prayer, kind of tucked away in our nation's capital. I got here in 2008. 2009 I became a novice, and I was a novice for a year. In 2014 that I made my solemn vows. And so that was the first solemn profession in 20 years in my monastery. Father Gabriel, Brother Matthew, and Brother Dunstan all made their vows together in 1994.
We do struggle for vocations. We happily have one novice now. We have one other man who clearly says he wants to join the community. We've got still another man he's an older man. He's not interested in taking vows, but he's interested in becoming what we call a claustral oblate, which is someone who would still have his own possessions, but would live in the monastery, would get no remuneration for any work he does, but would also get free room and board, and basically live with us and take part in all of our prayer life. So those are at least some signs of minimal growth. We do have to be concerned about the future of the community. I can't deny we are an aging community. We have our oldest monk will be celebrating his 98th birthday in just a few weeks. We have two others who were recently in the hospital. They're now released from hospital, but still very weak. And a couple others are also facing serious health problems. That's an issue.
Father Joseph, God bless him, he's as old as our monastery. He was born in 1924. In a few years, a few more funerals. And that's something that we'll face when we face it. But I've learned not to worry about the things I can't control. This morning at 5:20 in the morning, I was there chanting the Psalms, and right across the way from me in the chapel was Father Joseph, who got here in 1946. And so that I get to pray in the presence of men who've been here longer than I've been alive, it really is quite a blessing. We are the Benedictine monastery in Washington, D.C. There's so many religious communities that are here because of Catholic University and houses of formation of different types, which is really, really beautiful and unique. It's because you see Franciscans and Dominicans and Franciscans, the other type of Franciscans, the other types of Franciscans, and all kinds of beautiful in the church. And among all of that, diversity, which is really, really beautiful, are the Benedictines with this vow of stability kind of behind the scenes and tucked away. My vow is to this monastery here for the rest of my life.
You really join a monastery more than an order. In that sense, although our letters after our name is OSB, Order of St. Benedict, we're not an order in that normal centralized sense. We're members of St. Anselm's Abbey. Everyone should know that we are a praying community. A lot of people would say that the key definition of a monk is somebody that prays. We don't just pray for ourselves, we pray for the whole world. We're concerned about the whole world. We try to be genuine citizens of our country as well as members of the church. We provide in our school the education that young men receive to go forth and really be good members of society. And in other words, what we're doing is not just selfish, it's for service. If you read the Rule of Benedict, a key word for him, whether it's a verb or a noun or an adjective, is serve, servant, service. And I think everybody should know that we are here to serve. We're here to serve those who come to us as guests, and we're here to serve those even maybe who never even heard of us, but are certainly included in our prayers.
We don't always see the Benedictines out and about. A lot of times we'll see Dominicans here on campus in our campus ministry. We have had friars in the past. So you don't always see active ministry of the Benedictines, I think. But one thing that I have realized is that the humble love that Benedictines share is unlike any love that I've ever witnessed and experienced.
I love living in the nation's capital. I never get tired of seeing the monuments and the memorials. That I get to be a monk in Washington, D.C. and pray for the people who need it most is a real blessing.
Everybody should know that St. Anselm's, along with many other monastic communities in this country, are present to the world. We're not just present to ourselves. We're open, and we want to be of service to others, whether the people come to us as guests, whether they come to us just because they've read something that maybe some of us have written, that we are part of the fabric of this country, we're part of the fabric of the church, and we're here to stay.
And so even though we don't always see the monks of St. Anselm here on campus, we don't always go out to them, they love in such a unique way and pray in such a unique way for every soul, whether they've encountered them or not. And so that's why we should care. because there's not a lot of people on this earth that love and pray in that way.